From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
I'm John Cole. I'm the director of the Library's Center for the Book, one of its outreach arms, and we are a partner with River of Words and have been from the beginning in helping to create this wonderful, not only event, but this wonderful program. And it's a special pleasure for us to welcome not only our finalists and our winners, but the families, the parents, and the friends of not just River of Words, but friends of the environment, friends of education, and we hope friends of the Library of Congress. I'd like to know just for how many of you is this a first visit to the Library of Congress? All right. I would say 42%. Okay. I'm a precise librarian, you see, so I have this figured out. A couple of things about the day. We are going to have a chance to see a little bit of the library. You are in the first separate Library of Congress building. This building was opened in 1897. Our first Library of Congress was over in the U.S. Capitol. And as many of you know, if we could see through those blinds, we would see the U.S. Capitol. If we could see through these curtains, we would see the Supreme Court. So just believe me, you're in a special place in Washington, D.C. right now. We are going to have a luncheon in a different building, and as we walk together from here, I'll be able to tell you a little bit about the buildings and a little bit about the library and its history. But we now are in 3 buildings, and the Library of Congress is indeed the largest library in the world. It also is a wonderful place that reaches readers and potential readers of all ages. So we're proud to have another program for young people that is part of a project now with the Center for the Book, which I head, and with the Library of Congress itself. And this year we're going to open the first Young Readers Center in the Library of Congress. So you are in fact part of our wonderful new look at the Library of Congress. Now here are a couple of rules for today, and then we'll start. One is, will everyone please turn off your Blackberries? And that's for the kids too, because it's important because we are filming this program, and someday you'll be able to see what happens on the website of the Library of Congress and on the website of the Center for the Book. So everyone will be able to continue enjoying this ceremony. Now I'm going to introduce 2 special people who are the founders of River of Words, and they're the ones who are going to take us through not just the award ceremony, but we're going to be able to meet our individual winners, hear them, and see some of the artwork that has been produced by our winners. River of Words was actually created at the Library of Congress by the poet laureate at the time, and we're very lucky to have Robert Hass, who was the poet laureate of I think it was 1995 to 1996. Robert, do I have that? I'm close. Which is the time 1995 to 1997. Poetry is an important part of the Library of Congress, and the Librarian of Congress nominates and names someone who is the chief poet for a couple of years. And Bob Hass, one of the co-founders, is with us, and he and his colleague Pamela Michael are the ones who dreamt up this wonderful project, and they will tell you a little bit about it. But they have been working with the Center for the Book now for a number of years and have created a network of teachers and wonderful people who not only appreciate the environment and water and the importance of the activities with the kids, but also are developing school programs and curriculum programs. Finally, I do want to acknowledge, and there will be many acknowledgments today, but we do have support for this program from the EPA, and we will have representatives from the Environmental Protection Agency here today to talk about another partnership that is supporting this. But for the time being, I'm going to, for the rest of the morning, I'm going to bring forth Bob Hass and Pamela. Would you both come up, or at least Let's give them a hand. And who is going to start?
I'll start.
Pamela Michael is going to start. Pamela?
Thanks, John, and welcome, everybody. We are so happy to see all of you here. And I know some of you have made a lot of sacrifices to get here and put a lot of effort into it. By far the prize for the person who's come the longest distance is our international winner who's here from Sri Lanka. So you'll be meeting her soon. We're here to celebrate all of you kids today and your wonderful creativity and your work and your words and your images and ideas. And we hope that you will be inspired to continue to explore the world around you, learn more about it, learn how to take care of it, and that your work will inspire us, the adults, to find ways to make the world a clean, safe, beautiful, sustainable place for all of us for all time. So we have a big mission ahead of us, and we firmly believe at River of Words that it is through the arts and through this kind of sharing and through cultures meeting each other and sharing their visions and their ideas that those things are achievable. I want to introduce you to Robert Hass, who, without whom there would be no River of Words. And when you see how he nurtures these young poets and artists, you will understand the importance of that kind of mentorship and the kind of care that we really need to put into our children. I think we're losing sight a little bit in education today about the importance of real interaction and authentic interaction and exchange between teacher and student. It's a very precious, ancient, and very important relationship. And I work a lot with teachers doing training, and I know that there's a lot of despair among teachers now about the inability to have creative and spontaneous interactions in the classroom and outside. How many teachers are in the audience just by? Well, let's. You're going to meet our Teacher of the Year, Barbara Strasko, later in the day, but thank you all for the wonderful work you do. There would be no River of Words without you. So please welcome Robert Hass for the rest of the day.
So this is, first of all, a celebration of the kids and their openness to the world and their openness to language and to visual arts and their gift. Would all of the children who are winners today and finalists please stand up right now? This is about you guys. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Now, brothers and sisters, siblings, and parents of the winners also, please stand up, all of you. Thanks so much. I want to say to you kids, as you look around this room, that this room is yours. This library is yours. Thomas Jefferson gave his personal library to start the Library of Congress because he understood that if we're the kind of democracy we're going to have, the power of language and the power of expression, visual expression, musical expression, all had to be invested in the people, and it had to be available to the members of Congress who make the laws and guide this country in its future. And the library was created for that. But it belongs to us, belongs to you guys. And one of the wonderful American poets said about the American land, talking about the fact that Europeans came here and are, over the last few hundred years, have been learning the American land. Robert Frost said, "The land was ours before we were the land's." That is, we took it over before we learned how to belong to it. And it turns out that, learning how to belong to the land is a lifetime job of many generations, taking care of these places. And it was our basic idea with River of Words to ask you kids, because we're inside at desks so much and you're still outside playing, still out alive to the world and close to the experience of it, to give us in poems and in your art your feel for what the world is like. So we can hold it back up to all the rest of us and say, this is what we have to take care of. This is our job to do it. And we thought we would not only be, by showing them your work, showing them the job at giving ourselves and you hope and an assurance that this could be done. A wonderful philosopher, teacher about the nature of art, wrote a book about children's art. Pia Lindstrom was her name, and she said, the first power of art, and I love this when I read it, is the power of being a cause. You think of the first time you were able to pick up a crayon and make a line. I remember one of my children, the first time she made a line, said, I did it. And that spirit of saying, I did it, is what we want to show the world in the work that you did. I've, in the past, often talked a little bit about how much work, how much there is to take care of, what the dangers are to so many of the creatures of the world, the shrinking habitats of forests for wild creatures. We were at the zoo yesterday with my granddaughter, Ella, who came here from California to be the ceremony with us, and we got to see in place after place the shrinking habitat of a lot of the creatures. The other thing we got to see is the enormous resiliency of nature. Its enormous power to heal itself and take care of itself if we support it. So it's in the spirit of Thomas Jefferson's idea and the idea in this library that we can all read, we can all study, we can all learn, we can all have the power to take care of the world that was given to us. And the celebration of your gifts. I have to say there were 20,000 poems and paintings by children from all over the country. This year, last year, previous years. And it's thrilling to see them each time. You kids who are here because you're very gifted. You have a gift that's been given to you of the power of expression, and you're going to be able to use it to make a difference in the world. And that's what we're here to celebrate today. We have a lot of poems and a lot of art to show you, and before we get to lunch and to John Cole's wonderful brief tour of this amazing place that's your place. So I think what we should do is proceed right now and begin to listen to. Thank you. Poems. I'm a little concerned about the logistics of standing for the young poets here.
We might need a little stool.
I think we're going to need some kind of a stool
right.
or something. Or let's see how we go.
Right, well, let's get started.
Okay, we'll get started.
I don't know how one gets a stool at the Library of Congress. Who do you ask? The director of stools or something.
So, one of the ways of taking care of nature in art is the powerful tradition in Asia of close attention that in Japanese took the form of writing haiku. And one of our finalists, Andrew Baxter, who's from Gibsonia, Pennsylvania, from Eden Hall Upper Elementary School. His teacher is Deborah Newcomer, is here, and he's got a short poem to read for us. Andrew?
Are you here?
Andrew is
not, well, if he comes in later,
not here. His short poem called Snowflake goes, 6-pointed wonder. Look at the blanket of snow. Snowmen start like this. Look at the blanket of snow, 575. There's a kind of wonderful little mathematics of form that runs through this simple poem, as the mathematics of form run through the architecture of this building. 6-pointed wonder. Look at that blanket of snow. Snowmen start like this. Our second poet is Alexa Beaver. She's from Fruita, Colorado. She's from Caprock Academy in Grand Junction, and her teacher is Susan Sharp. Alexa, are you here?
Let me. You need your ribbon on in order to read.
Thank you. I stand on the moon, looking at the big, round, blue earth, and I am going to eat it very, very slowly.
Alexa, when I read this, I thought, timing. She's got a great sense of timing. Would you read it? It's short enough. Would you read it one more time?
I stand on the moon, looking at the big, round, blue earth, and I am going to eat it very, very slowly.
That's wonderful, dear. Thanks so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You also read it very, very slowly, which worked just perfectly. And here is your River of Words certificate. Thanks, dear, so much. Our next reader is Thornton Blaze. Thornton, are you here? Thornton,
He is.
Thornton is 13. He's, let me find your poem for you here.
It's ancient language. I got it right here.
Oh,
he
okay.
got it. Okay.
Great. Great.
Well, I'm not afraid. I think.
Get real close to the mic.
Okay, can you all hear me? I'd first like to say something. I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to. I would like to say that painting pictures with words is a sort of ambition to me. It's just not like something I do for fun. It's a mission. It's a journey through this painting pictures with words and bringing it through and sending it out. I write novels and all sorts of stuff. Bringing this world of words into an existence, flowing through. The pen is my emblem. And all you wonderful writers out there know that the pen is your emblem too. Bringing out the spirit in you, revealing yourself, and finding your inner strength, your true spirit. Discovering that you really have this, you may not be strong physically, but you're strong inside with great power inside yourself to bring this world of words to life. But anyway, ancient language. I'd first like to say something about it. My writing advisor wanted me to take out the dragon. Why? Because to make it more environmental. But anyway, I never did, and it won. Okay, I'm gonna start. The dragon's wings wave across the brazen blue sky, carving into the clouds the story of the world in the ancient tongue of fire. On the ocean shore, the story of the sea is written along the cool brown sands in the ancient language of water. At high noon, the lurking shadows linger, resting upon the green glassy glen. A lazy comparison to the early morn, which twists shades shallows itself and swings into ancient language of light. Before you clap, I wanted to say something else about water. And yes, the ancient language too. It's like this dead language. I mean, all the technology we have today, computers, TV, is destroying this ancient language and taking it away from us and making it forgotten. At least Dragon here knows. But anyway, the water part, the most important. Now, the earth never makes the same water. I'm just trying to say something. We're using the same water. Oh, by the way, your kids might as well not listen to this, but we're using the same water drunk by the dinosaurs, used by the Greeks and many others. Anyway, so you can all paint pictures with words and keep that up and prevail in your journey.
Thank you, Thornton. Wait, you got to get your certificate. I have to say something about Thornton. Stay here a minute, Thornton. Thornton has been entering River of Words since he was 6 years old. And he sends in multiple entries, and we actually talked about it when I finally met him this week. He sends them in separate envelopes. So I said, please put them all in one envelope, save a tree. But I look forward every year to receiving his work. He has the most wonderful gift with words. Sometimes his poems were so imaginative and out there that you had to read them a lot of times to find the meaning, but the meaning is always there. He's an extraordinarily gifted young man, and we are so happy to finally meet you and to honor you, Thornton.
You're all gifted all yourselves, too. It's true.
You're right.
Thornton is homeschooled, and his teacher is his mother, Valerie, who's here. Valerie, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Welcome. Congratulations. Also, great hat, Thornton. Our next reader is from Bethesda, Maryland, Everett Hutter. Are you here, Everett? Come on up here.
And look, we got a stool. Hi, Everett. I bet you're 5. Are you 5? I thought so.
No, 5.5.
5.5. No, you can take it off when you read.
Come on up here.
Can you read? No?
Can you
Okay.
say your poem out
Do you
loud?
know your poem?
Yeah.
Okay, get it.
Things that are red, sleeping in my parents' bed, books that I have read. My dog would chase fed, thinking thoughts in my head.
I'll let you read it.
We're going to give you your certificate, and I'm going to say it once again, okay, for people. This is 5 favorite things from a 5-year-old. So each of you now has the job. He suggested a new poetic form. I have to list 68 favorite things. Some of you, 30 favorite. Everybody go home and do this as an exercise in celebration of being alive on the earth. This one goes, things that are read, sleeping in my parents' bed, books that I have read, my dog when she is fed, thinking thoughts in my head. Thank you, Everett, very much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your poem. Our next young poet is Madeline McGrigg. She's from Denver, Colorado. She's 7 years old. She's from, her teacher is Karen Johnson.
Days of Glory. Something to write about, something to sing about, something to think about, in the clouds above us, in the night sky, over the stars and past the moon, past the days of glory.
I really love the way this kind of starts as a list and then it just opens up to glory. Would you just say it for us one more time?
Something to write about, something to sing about, something to think about, in the clouds above us, in the night sky, over the stars and past the moon, past the days of glory.
Oh, thanks, dear. Thanks very much.
Here you are. That's for you.
Our next reader, who came to us from Bath, Maine, is Emma Moorhead. And Emma wrote a kind of poem called a pantoum. Emma, are you here? Here she comes.
Thank you. Kennebec Pantoum.
Steam rolls off the river, snow slides down its banks and stifles brown grass. Snow slides down its banks, old leaves dance on brown grass, leaving the maples lonely. Old leaves dance on frosted rooftops, leaving the maples lonely with the weight of winter. Frosted rooftops sag and leak with the weight of winter along my stony Kennebec. Thank you.
Just a gorgeous poem. Did all of you kids hear that this little, she calls it Kennebec Pantoum. A pantoum is a folk song form that comes from Malaysia. And some English poets got interested in it in the 19th century because they loved the kind of turning and turning of its sound, which you were able to make into the feeling of the turning and turning of nature in a most magical way. The trick of the poem, as you can hear, is in the first line, steam rolls off the river, snow slides down its banks. The second line of a stanza becomes the first line of the next stanza. So her second stanza begins, snow slides down its banks, old leaves dance on brown grass. And then the third stanza is old leaves dance on frosted rooftops. And then the frosted rooftops turn into frosted rooftops sag and leak. So it's one thing turning into another, and then she ends it by bringing back to her beloved place in Maine with the last line of the poem. It's just a knockout what you did with this, dear. So let's hear it again.
Okay. Steam rolls off the river, snow slides down its banks and stifles brown grass. Snow slides down its banks, old leaves dance on brown grass, leaving the maples lonely. Old leaves dance on frosted rooftops, leaving the maples lonely with the weight of winter. Frosted rooftops sag and leak with the weight of winter along my stony Kennebec.
That's wonderful. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you very much.
Here, Emma.
Our next reader is from Silver Springs, Maryland. Ruben Marino, are you here, Ruben?
Here he is.
Yeah. Ruben is from St. Andrew's Apostles School. And it's 10.
The pond behind my house. The pond behind my house sits quiet, rippling, shallow, and dark. Like her siblings, the rivers, ocean, and lakes. A lover of rain and fresh melting snow. She fears the sun, a slow hot demise, and thirst for water, a random revival. A sliver of calm tucked into new urban sprawl, fish, turtle, and frogs. They make her their home. She resides in a woodlot just bigger than she is, the pond behind my house.
You know, we loved several things about the way you wrote this poem, and one of them is the sense, the rhythm of cause and effect in it is she fears the sun, a slow hot demise, and thirst for water, a random revival, sliver of turtles and frogs, they make their home. We just loved the way, the quiet, meditative way you made your own world come alive in this writing. So would you read it for us once more?
The pond behind my house sits quiet, rippling, shallow, and dark. Like her siblings, the rivers, ocean, and lakes. A lover of rain, fresh melting snow. She fears the sun, a slow hot demise, and thirst for water, a random revival. A sliver of calm tucked into new urban sprawl. Fish, turtles, and frogs, they make her their home. She resides in a willow, just bigger than she is, the pond behind my house.
Thanks, Reuben. One of the great American poets, one of the creators of the Harlem Renaissance, is a poet named Langston Hughes, who, as a young man, had a job as a bellhop in a hotel in Washington, D.C. And the first poem of his to get any kind of attention was called The Negro Speaks of Rivers, and it begins, "I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers, my soul has grown deep like the rivers," is the second line of that poem. And there's a feeling for me, Reuben, in your poem of that. I thought about that line as I was reading you. The pond behind my house, it's quietly rippling, shallow and dark, has that same feel of contemplative depth that young Langston Hughes got in his poem. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. We thought, this young man has a deep soul. He's going to make sounds. Our next reader is not here. Sama Rosh, whom we met yesterday, is a very gifted young woman.
Her dad is going to receive her stuff.
And
You could read her poem.
yeah, it's not marked here. Can you usually find it?
We knew she wasn't going to be here, so.
We met her yesterday. She's off to
To Iran.
Iran on last night's flight. She is in the World Community Education Center. Her teacher is Linda Ingram. Sama is 11, from Bedford, behind our school. Behind our school, we made a loft in a tree with 6 trunks, found an old railroad nail and a fire poker, spent a long time finding branches and cutting them in half. We called it our chimpanzee nest. Behind our school, you can make forts, cross a marsh, run from hornets, build a swing, see the source of the little stream, lay in a meadow, explore in the pine needle forest, look over a cliff, spot foxes, watch out for a bear, follow deer tracks, find an old house, find a creepy old campsite, run away from dogs, come across a waterfall, slide in the mud, climb on fallen limbs, take a stream walk and end up swimming in it, find an arrowhead, feel relaxed, calm, tranquil, happy, grateful. That's Sama Rosh, age 11 years old. And here's her dad come to receive her. And the last of our finalist readers is Elijah Rosario, who's 8 years old, from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and her teacher is our amazing gifted teacher of the year, Barbara Straskow. Hi, dear.
Oh, is this ribbon going to show up on you? Beautiful dress.
You got it.
The air is something growing inside of me, like a story about a flower.
That's it. That's the whole poem. This is the kind of poem that when I was trying to write, we used to call a skinny poem, because it's just a few words and then a few words and then a few words, and you just did it with such delicacy. And would you read it once more, nice and slow?
The air is something growing inside of me, like a story about a flower.
Thanks, dear.
Elijah's teacher sent me a little video clip of a news segment that was done on Elijah and one of our grand prize winners from Lancaster, Yolanda Lockett. And there's a little story behind your poem that you told the reporter. Do you remember about what inspired you? Do you want to tell the audience? No? Were you riding in a car and feeling full of the air, the wind blowing on you, and that's, yeah? Did I get it right? Yeah, so that you felt the air and you felt like there was a flower growing inside of you from the. So, let me give you your.
Sometimes when we meet the children, after being amazed by these poems, and we get to hear the stories. Last year, one of the young winners had a poem, and I can't quote it exactly, but he said, down here in the sewer, the water flows like the sound of an oboe. Like the sound of an oboe. We thought, wow, where did that come from? And when we met him, and I said, where did that come from? He said, my sister plays the oboe. That was he's getting even there. Every year, because our program, our offices are in Berkeley, California, and our home is in the Library of Congress, we've particularly wanted to honor the kids of Washington, D.C. and their art. And together with the Friends of the Anacostia River, we've decided to pick one poem each year and specify it as that year's winner of the Anacostia Prize. In a few more years, we've been going on for 15 years now, we're going to be able to have a book of poems written by the kids of Washington about this watershed of the Potomac and the Anacostia. And our grand prize winner for the Anacostia this year is Grace Fitzpatrick. She's right here.
Her whole class is here.
She's from St. Peter's School.
And her whole class is
And your whole class. Hey, class, stand up.
And her teacher.
And her teacher, Sandra Pear. Sandra, would you stand up, please, so we can see you and admire your work. Thanks so much.
Not only a ribbon, but a medal. Here, let's.
Oh, you guys actually.
I think we can take that.
Wow,
out of
good
the
to
way.
that.
You got it?
Okay. Oh, dear and lovely river of my dreams, I watch you sway and sing the world to sleep. I watch my childhood playing with the fish. I remember the crystals on the waves, the wildflowers that I picked in bouquets. You moan, but none can hear your quiet cry. You flowed to town from gentle hills above. You twist and turn, you slow to quench a thirst. In winter, I see tiny snowflakes fall. We fail to help you now and in the past. We fail, but we stand to try once again. Some say that only God can make a tree, but rivers can be saved by kids like me. Thank you.
So this poem is written in the form of a sonnet, and it's called Anacostia Shakespearean, and it has that grand old rhythm. You can hear it in, you flowed to town from gentle hills above. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more radiant and more. So you evoke the Avon and this lovely music. Sandra, you have to have something to do with this, but your ear too had to do with it.
Yeah, our whole class wrote sonnets, so yeah.
Good work, Sandra. Would
Thank
you
you,
read
Ms.
it again
Pierce.
so we can hear this grand form played out?
Oh, dear and lovely river of my dreams, I watch you sway and sing the world to sleep. I watch my childhood playing with the fish. I remember the crystals on the waves, the wildflowers that I picked in bouquets. You moan, but none can hear your quiet cry. You flow to town from gentle hills above. You twist and turn, you slow to quench a thirst. In winter, I see tiny snowflakes fall. We fail to help you now and in the past. We fail, but we stand to try once again. Some say that only God can make a tree, but rivers can be saved by kids like me. Thank you.
And Grace, I have to tell you something that you don't know. I'll tell everybody. I got an email this morning from the editor of a little newsletter from the Friends of Saucil Creek, which is a creek in my part of the world in Oakland, California, and they've asked for permission to reprint your poem in their newsletter. And of course, I will give it.
Yeah.
But this is one of the intended outcomes of River of Words, is that this wonderful art and poetry can be spread out by use, groups all over, like Friends of This Creek and That River, and various agencies. Our artwork and poetry was used by the EPA several years ago for their biannual report to Congress. Ben, what was it you told me was the 350A or something? 305B. So these images and these words are available for use by organizations. So all of you who do annual reports and newsletters, please know that there's this wonderful archive of this work by children. And Grace, I'll send you a copy.
Thank you.
We're going to bring up the Anacostia technology take over. This isn't in your program, but we've worked since our beginnings with the Anacostia Watershed Society here in the district, and that's the organization that has worked for how long? 20 years? 20 years to try to bring the Anacostia back to life. There are parts of it that are a Superfund site, I think, thanks to the Naval Shipyard. It's a beautiful river, despite all of its challenges. And one of the ways that Robert Boone, the now retired founder of the Anacostia Watershed Society, kind of strategized to get people's awareness raised and get some action was he started taking kids, school groups, legislators out in canoes on the river to see for themselves. And the Anacostia has really made major strides in cleaning up. And I tell you, when you're on that river, except for one little stretch where you can see the stadium, you would have no idea that you're in a city even. Ospreys are flying overhead, and it's just beautiful. And so not only do we have an Anacostia Prize every year, but the Anacostia Watershed Society awards a prize to either a poet or an artist for their work, and it's usually printed on a t-shirt, but this year they did tote bags. Would you like to come up? Maurice Hill is here, and also Evan, I keep forgetting your name. Lee, why do I come up too? Lee from Anacostia Watershed Society is here, and this year's Anacostia Watershed Prize winner, Maurice Hill. Welcome. Do you have a poem? Oh, it's your painting. Let's show your, do you want to just talk about it? Do you want to show his artwork? It's now reproduced.
Yeah. I just have to say that this is my bag, and I use it a lot, as opposed to plastic bags, and that was the...
the bags are recycled, so...
Yeah.
Oh, but I did the River of Words. This is my second time doing it. And Lee came here. He got me to give it a second try, so thank you to Lee. Thank you to the whole Anacostia Watershed Society and everybody who helps with the River of Words competition for giving us opportunities to do it. So, yeah. And one more thing, I'd like to congratulate all the kids who did the poems. Like, y'all amazing. Like, when I was your age, my poems would have been about like Pokemon cards, Play-Doh, and Legos. So, big ups to the parents who teach their kids that you're doing a very good job. So,
thank you. Maurice, we want to give you a copy of this. We didn't know you were going to be here, so we don't.
Right, I didn't either.
You didn't either. Okay.
So, if you get a chance to get out onto the Anacostia, and if you're from Washington and get a chance to be of use either by writing a check or by getting out yourself or getting others out onto the river, it's an enormous gift. It's a beautiful river. I better leave it at that because there's so much for us to do. And now we come to announcing the winner. Year after year, we've gotten to see an unexpected part of this program, the way gifted teachers work in this country, that at certain points, year after year, in this town in Michigan, and that town in Florida, and this place else, there's wonderful poems and wonderful pieces of art, not all alike, so that it's clear the teacher doesn't isn't imposing some kind of pattern to produce work, but really liberating the kids to do their own work. And we came to realize almost as soon as we did this, it was very important to honor the teachers. And Pam, I guess, will say a word now about our Teacher of the Year.
I love this part of the program because a lot of my work is with teachers, and I've never really been a teacher, although I'm teaching teachers. It's a little dishonest in a way, but I've come to have such enormous respect and affection for them, and the work they do is not only wonderful, it's very hard, and they need all our support, and they need the benefit of great teaching colleges and great materials and supportive administrations and enough money to do their jobs and supportive communities. So we honor and celebrate all of you today. I first met Barbara Strasko at the workshop, I guess, wasn't it? And then, where's Barbara? I keep thinking, I'm sorry. I thought you were her the other day too, but it's so embarrassing. Well, I can plead innocence. I don't have my glasses on, but Barbara, I'm sorry. I first met you at the workshop in Pennsylvania, I believe. Is that right? No, I first met you, even worse. Okay. But I've come to know her through the work of her students because she's had so many winners and finalists in our contest. She teaches in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where she's a literacy coach. She's also the poet laureate of that county. She's a wonderful poet in her own right. The work of her students is extraordinary on its own merits, but I think it's even more extraordinary because she works in a school and in a school district that has some real challenges. So her students have an enormous respect for her and have learned how to kind of heal their community and heal themselves and celebrate their place. It's very place-based, her students' work, through words. She's a firm believer in the power of words to reach people and to transform them. And I'm going to let her tell you in her own words her philosophy and her approach to teaching. And we're very pleased to honor her this year. We didn't know when we named her Teacher of the Year that she's retiring this year. So this is a wonderful cap to a wonderful career and the work of an amazing woman. Barbara Strasko from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I really want to thank Pamela Michael and Bob Hass and everyone connected to the River of Words and the Library of Congress for providing for our students of all ages the opportunity to share their poems and to be honored like this. It's always amazing. This is, I think, the third time I've been here. I'm also very grateful to be honored as a teacher here today. I want to share a little bit about myself and the place that I live and the students that I share my life with every day. As Poet Laureate of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, as a teacher, a literacy coach, and a poet, I see Lancaster as a unique place of beauty that also has many difficult challenges. Lancaster City is an urban center, and the school where I teach has many of the same issues as the inner city schools across the nation. It's a high poverty school with a high percentage of students who have English as their second language. I'm a literacy coach, which is a Title I funded position designed to help teachers find ways to move our students to higher literacy levels. Many of the values with which poetry is naturally concerned, language, beauty, truth, and self-expression, are also those that education should value. I think it's unfortunate that testing has taken over so much of the focus in education. But here we are doing something a little different, so happy about that. When I teach poetry, I encourage and model higher level questioning, higher level discussion, and have shown teachers how capable their students are when understanding and writing complex poetry. I'm able to take such dialogues to a different place partly because I'm not the classroom teacher. The students see me not just as a teacher, but also as a writer of stories and poems, and someone who reads pieces out of my notebook. And when I share my poems with my students, they recognize that we are on the same journey. My own journey took me from a small town in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, to Millersville University, right outside of Lancaster. And I chose this college because it had a great reputation for preparing teachers. And I knew that in high school that that's what I wanted to do. After college, I immediately worked for the School District of Lancaster. And I was a high school reading teacher, an early childhood specialist who went into children's homes and taught them in their homes, a Title I resource room teacher, a parent educator who ran parenting classes. And then I got a master's in psychology and became a guidance counselor. So, as a guidance counselor in Fulton School, I spent 10 years counseling and testing, and I loved it, but I didn't feel that I could really reach the children in terms of self-expression and in terms of self-confidence the way I wanted to. So when I changed to a literacy coach and started teaching writing, I began to see the students as poets with important words to say, and they began to see themselves as powerful people with important things to say. And they began to want to say them in artistic and beautiful ways, which further shifted others' perceptions of them. When I went to Vermont College for an MFA in poetry, I learned a lot about how to write poetry, but I also learned how to teach poetry from the amazing teachers I had. And one of those teachers, Natasha Sahe, is here today to help me celebrate. Adrienne Rich says that a poem is a moment of change, and that is how I see poetry for myself and my students. In Proofs and Theories, Louise Gluck calls making art a revenge in circumstance. The very act of writing a delicate, honest poem can revenge the harshness of circumstances. So I began to use my own love of writing poetry to help others discover the power of poetry as healing and transcending the everyday world. Right now, I live on the edge of Lancaster City, but right on the Conestoga River, and I often use the view of the river in my writing to help me through difficult times. When I first decided to try to send poetry written by my students to the River of Words, I decided to work in an after-school environmental club at my school. And in that short workshop, Luis Mendez wrote Waterfall Slam, and he was in 4th grade. He had an article in the paper, and the experience changed him. He became one of the most self-confident students in 5th grade. And the next year, he was the MC for the poetry night that we have at my school. He was referred to the gifted program. He went to middle school as an honor student. And I was impressed by the power of success to bring more success. Cheyenne Graham was a grand winner of River of Words in 2007 as a 5th grader, and she had been writing poems on a regular basis since 2nd grade. And for her, writing was an expression of her inner self, and a well-needed outlet for some difficult emotions. And for Cheyenne, poetry can be a lifeline, and winning this prize, I think, helped her see that others could recognize and value what she felt. Carlos Alameda was a finalist the same year that Cheyenne won her prize. And he wrote his poem in English and Spanish. And then, and just a few years before he wrote it, he wasn't speaking any English. So that was kind of amazing. And then he became a part of an after-school group I did, and he wrote another poem and came back again to the River of Words as a finalist. In the first year, he didn't want to read his poem in Spanish, but I insisted that he read it in Spanish. And there was a family here from Puerto Rico who didn't speak English, and they came up to him, and he realized how important it was that he read it in both languages. So then he was invited to the National Book Festival through River of Words, and he read his poems in English and Spanish there. And I want to say that I just wrote a letter of recommendation for him for a summer job with this program called Dig It in Lancaster, and he's going to be growing organic vegetables and selling them in an open market. In his newspaper article, he said that he wanted to be like Mr. Stem, our school principal. And that didn't really surprise me. Mr. Stem, our principal, is a great leader who encourages and pushes us to be the best that we can be. And when I read the descriptions Elijah and Yolanda, you'll meet Yolanda in a little bit, gave in the newspaper of how they feel when I'm teaching them, it really touched me. And I think sometimes it's just my openness and my desire for their self-expression that comes through to them. In order to make art, says Adrienne Rich, a certain freedom of the mind is needed, freedom to press on, to enter the currents of your thoughts, like a glider pilot, knowing that your motion can be sustained and that the buoyancy of your attention will not be suddenly snatched away. So I think that's important. I have just a short poem I'm going to read, and then I have a closing statement. I'm sorry. This is called 4-Year-Olds Respond to Langston Hughes, based on an experience teaching them. How might the rain taste? They do not speak at first, but test the idea with their bodies. Some open their mouths, some purse their lips to let there be a kiss of the rain, like the poem invites. Some unfold their hands as if to collect the drops and drink their imaginary nectar. When pressed for words, what they say is cold, what they say is silver, what they say is lullaby. So, in closing, I wake up several hours each morning and look at the river and write in my notebook before I go to school, and this practice energizes and inspires me. When I share my drafts of poems with my students, they recognize that we are both trying to change and trying to rise above the often dreary world. We are lucky. Most people don't have time to find beauty, to express feelings, and to make them into art. We can take an hour or two in a day and rewrite our stories in a moment of pain, a moment of change called a poem. Thank you very much.
This is the first year we've ever had medals, and I really like the idea. It's like the Olympics. So
okay.
Here's your Teacher of the Year medal.
Thank you.
And then one of my best friends, who's a marvelous jeweler, makes every year a special Teacher of the Year pendant, or if we have a male teacher, it's a lapel pin, and it has your name on the back, and I cannot read it without my glasses. Can you?
It says her name, Barbara Strasko, River of Words.
Oh, okay. And then on the front, it says Teacher of the Year, and there's an apple and an eye. And
oh, that's
so. Let me put it on you. At the San Francisco ceremony that we did in April, we do a similar ceremony in California every year at the San Francisco Public Library. There were 3 people in the audience wearing these pendants. We had 3 former Teachers of the Year in attendance this year. This is going to be really hard. Lift up your...
Okay.
Did it.
Okay.
So,
thank you so much.
And then lots of goodies in there for you. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you so much.
Big hand for Barbara Strasko.
So now we come to this year's grand prize winners in the 4-H categories. And we begin with Quinn Whitlow, who's 7, from St. Louis Park, Minnesota.
In the book, he's actually not
He's not homeschooled.
Hmm?
He's not homeschooled.
Where are you? There you are.
Just 1 second, Quinn. Here, you need your medal.
Where are you, Quinn? Right
It's
here.
marked.
Unseen secrets. I hide my secrets in the core of a brick and on the surface of a star. I tell my secrets to the unseen spirits around me and the light rays from the sun. Spirits live where man cannot go, in the farthest part of space and inside a velvet mite.
When we read this poem, somebody said, "Inside a velvet mite." Whoa! How did he think of that? It's quite wonderful. That's about as secret as a secret gets, inside a velvet mite. Would you read it once more for us?
I hide my secrets in the core of a brick and on the surface of a star. I tell my secrets to the unseen spirits around me and to the light rays from the sun. Spirits live where man cannot go, in the farthest part of space and inside a velvet mite.
And you memorized your poem. Congratulations.
Here's your certificate. Here are your presents. You might want to carry it from the bottom.
And he had memorized his poem. Our winner in the next category is a student of Barbara Straskos from Lancaster, Yolanda Lockett. Yolanda, would you please come up here?
You look so pretty.
It's a letter. In the dark blue sea, I saw a letter. It was very small, and this is what it said. I miss you in the dark blue sea. I love to read, but I need help with some of the words. I need help, but I usually read alone. I read one book about Marvin becoming a king. Another book was about a shark. Every time he sees legs or an arm, he goes into a wave and nothing is there. Sometimes when I am sad, I say I hate my life. I run away, hide under the covers, and nothing is there but my book.
You were great. You were great, and you read it beautifully. And it's a terrifically sad poem in a way, but like the poems of someone like Emily Dickinson, you're able to take a sadness that everybody experiences, especially that one of the escape into books. You know, that it's interesting because it's an escape and a liberation at the same time, and you captured that. You just nailed it. So let's hear this.
It's a letter. In the dark blue sea, I saw a letter. It was very small, and this is what it said. I miss you in the dark blue sea. I love to read, but I need help with some of the words. I need help, but I usually read alone. I read one book about Marvin becoming a king. Another book was about a shark. Every time he sees legs or an arm, he goes into a wave and nothing is there. Sometimes when I am sad, I say I hate my life. I run away, hide under the covers, and nothing is there but my book.
You are something. Thank you so much, Julie. Congratulations.
Here, Yolanda, here's your certificate, and there's your presents. Thank you.
Thank you, Yolanda. Gosh. Our next reader is from Sarasota, Florida. Savannah Failing is 14. You still 14, Savannah? And where are you? There you are. Savannah's from Booker Middle School, and her teacher is Joanna Hapner Fox. Joanna's here as well.
Hi there. My poem's called Atmosphere. Sorry, yeah. You gave your words to the dog in the fall because he was new, and you were still entertaining the idea of being an animal lover. And then in November, when the lake was starting to get an icy sheen, you sighed to your boyfriend and let it echo through the rooms even after he had left. And you did not go down to the forest, whose bare trees were not welcoming, but familiar, because you had sat in the piles of discarded leaves in autumn, just thinking. Later it got cold, and you weren't outside, but cooped up by the television, with all the lights in the house turned off, and your face lit by the blue light of the screen, while the weatherman once again announced that there would be snow. And you do not remember the late fall grass, just turning brown, or the early winter trees, or when you were 5, and you paid attention to when you tread on brittle twigs, because you tried to avoid doing that to honor the dead.
When you kids get a chance to read the poems later and look at them, one of the things you'll see that Savannah did, you know how usually poems line up on the front margin and go over, and then they're irregular where they end on the other side. And Savannah did the other thing and began the poems so that all the lines end up that way, and it gives a feeling of, I don't know what you were after.
I started doing that in 7th grade.
What it does is kind of bring stop in a way that's quite haunting. The other thing that we loved about this poem is just the feeling that you have very wry intelligence. You just feel it's smart line by line, and then this fresh, real vivid quality of living in it too. So let us hear you again on Atmosphere.
Atmosphere. You gave your words to the dog in the fall because he was new, and you were still entertaining the idea of being an animal lover. And then in November, when the lake was starting to get an icy sheen, you sighed to your boyfriend and let it echo through the rooms even after he had left. And you did not go down to the forest, whose bare trees were not welcoming, but familiar, because you had sat in the piles of discarded leaves in autumn, just thinking. Later it got cold, and you weren't outside, but cooped up by the TV, with all the lights in the house turned off, and your face lit by the blue light of the screen, while the weatherman once again announced that there would be snow. And you do not remember the late fall grass, just turning brown, or the early winter trees, or when you were 5, and you paid attention to when you tread on brittle twigs, because you tried to avoid doing that to honor the dead.
Savannah, you know, the other quality I realized listening is self-awareness. It's that while you were still considering becoming an animal lover, they say that's a really wonderful quality. In the 11th, 12th grade category, our winner is Skylar Pham. He's from Opelousas, Louisiana, and he's 17 years old.
Hey. There was a time in my life when I was the seagull, swallowing skin shed from all the flightless nights, sleepless nights, and everything seemed to resonate on the tips of my wings. Then you came and laid a cold hand on my head, fever nearly breaking my bones. Come on home, you whispered, the oaks are miserable without you. And with that you returned to your home of leaves, made your bed with bees and ate berries and seeds. Meanwhile, I mended 30 pounds of weathered wings of all colors. I had been at the edge of the town, reattaching the cords and breaking the boards. Carving wood had never been a hobby of mine, but I carved 10 trembling towers that day. You rose to your feet as I rose to the top of the heap. Dusting off the dangling beads, you wrote a piece about the stars and the sky and the clouds. Then I cried, fell to blistered knees, and wept for each word in rhyme that tickled my ears. Penitence, is it, Sisyphus? I'd gladly clamber up that horrid hill with you, only you.
We were saying this is not a kid's poem. You know, this is the real deal in that way. And energy, I thought, was the quality here, and a kind of shamanism. When you said there was a time in my life when I was a seagull, but you read a few more lines and you believe him after that. Let's hear it again, please.
There was a time in my life when I was the seagull, swallowing skin shed from all the flightless nights, sleepless nights, and everything seemed to resonate on the tips of my wings. Then you came and laid a cold hand on my head, fever nearly breaking my bones. Come on home, you whispered. The oaks are miserable without you. And with that you returned to your home of leaves, made your bed with bees, and ate berries and seeds. Meanwhile I mended 30 pounds of weathered wings of all colors. I had been at the edge of the town, reattaching the cords and breaking the boards. Carving wood had never been a hobby of mine, but I carved 10 trembling towers that day. You rose to your feet as I rose to the top of the heap. Dusting off the dangling beads, you wrote a piece about the stars and the sky and the clouds. Then I cried, fell to blistered knees, and wept for each word and rhyme that tickled my ears. Penitence, is it? Sisyphus? I'd gladly clamber up that horrid hill with you, only you.
So I think the next part, Pam, I'm going to leave to you.
We're going to have a few words from Ben Grumbles, who was our keynote speaker last year. Last year he worked with the EPA and was instrumental in getting us the funding that allowed us to print this book. Which, by the way, all the winners and finalists in River of Words, who number about 100, a little over 100, a book is sent with a book plate inside that says that the book was donated to both their school library and their public library in their name. And so kids can go to their town library and pull out a book from the shelf that has their work in it. It's really kind of wonderful. So Ben Grumbles, at that time, was with the EPA, and he, from the very beginning, had a very deep and visceral understanding of our mission and the way in which the arts can help people understand the world around them, and particularly the need for conservation, preservation, and all the things that the EPA works on. We asked him if he would be on our board almost immediately, and he couldn't because of his position, but he has since left the EPA, and he's moving next month to Arizona to be the head of the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. So we've asked him back this year to say a few words again, and we'd like to introduce, just before Ben comes up, just briefly, Dave Evans, who's director of the Wetlands Division at the EPA, who's here representing the man who has temporarily replaced Ben in his job at the Office of Water, who this year continued the tradition Ben started by giving us another grant to produce this year's book. I also want to acknowledge John McShane, another of our EPA friends, who for how many years now, John? Forever. Comes, and he's a wonderful photographer. He takes pictures of the ceremony of the kids, and you'll see those on our website as soon as we can get those up. So thank you, EPA. And Dave, do you want to just come up a minute? And
Thank you, Pam, and Bob. It's wonderful to see the dedication and passion you bring to this program. It's a treat for me to see that Ben is here, and I will be briefer than I planned, knowing that you're going to want to hear what he says. But just wanted to say thanks to the Library of Congress, Center for the Book, and for the River of Words program for inviting EPA to the awards ceremony today. EPA is a proud sponsor and a partner in the program, And I can say now in person to Ben, he's the one that made that so, and it's really good that he's here again today. And it's also good that now he is not with EPA. He can be a member of the board of the program, and that's great. Just a few words of congratulations to the winners. Your art and poetry, which we heard the best of this morning, it's a true inspiration. At EPA, we promote a watershed approach to manage the country's water resources. And we have many technical publications and tools, educational materials to try and affect people up here with the hope that if they understand these problems better, it will motivate them to take action. But your program is a great complement to what we do, and you approach it in a different way. And from my perspective, the River of Words allows and really encourages students to explore, interpret their local watersheds. Its success is directly due to the creativity and the passion that you young writers bring to the local environment. And we see the mountains and the rivers, the deserts, the wetlands and the forests, they all come alive in your entries. We get to see nature through children's clear eyes, which gives us hope for the future. Through this program, you're reaching people here in the hearts. And it's the emotional power of poetry and of art that really touches people's hearts and truly inspires them, and I think can inspire them for a lifetime. So we sure hope that the young artists that are here today and all the others that have entered will continue to make a connection to the place they live in, and especially from my perspective, the water resources around them. In the words of a very famous American, George Washington Carver, and this is a quote, "Young people, I want to beg of you always to keep your eyes open to what Mother Nature has to teach you. By so doing, you will learn many valuable things every day of your life." So the students here, from the earliest grade schools to the last reader, heading off to college, I'm sure, soon, you have so many talents, and you have a lot of opportunities on how you'll apply your knowledge and your skills in the years to come. Just last night, about a block away, I was happy to be able to participate in the Environmental Law Institute's annual Wetlands Award program. It's in its 20th year this year. And there are scientists, educators, landowners, state managers, conservationists, and community leaders are all recognized for their wetlands protection accomplishments. And as I look out and looked up at the students being recognized today, it would be wonderful in 20 or 30 years to learn that one of them is being again recognized, this time for their adult accomplishments and contributions to the environment. The natural world really needs your help. So, congratulations to all the winners.
And now our newest board member, Ben Grumbles.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Dave and Connie. See you back there, too. John, thanks as always for helping to secure the People's Library and the room for this great ceremony. And Bob, rats roaming down here, water flowing like music from the oboe. Jack Baker, age 7, Denver, Colorado. You know, that was this poem about sewers. Down here, underground. It really spoke to me because in my former job, which Dave and others at EPA are now fully committed to, it's about raising awareness about all those important parts of the infrastructure that keep our watersheds healthy and our bodies healthy. But anyway, that was one of my favorites. Charles Kuralt said, when he wrote a book about America, he said, "When I started to think about America, I thought of state lines and highways. But as I got to know her better, I thought of rivers. America is a great story, and there's a river on every page of it. There's a poem for every river and every creek and a poet for every watershed, and I look around and I see a room filled with poets representing watersheds throughout the country and the world. And it's just a real honor to be part of the River of Words Board of Directors, but to be part of this ceremony, this effort. My other favorite line is from Teddy Roosevelt in the City of Presidents, one of the great green presidents of the country, and he said, "There is nothing more practical than the preservation of beauty." And that's what poetry is all about. It's observing and recording it in your own truthful way, and that helps to preserve it because it raises awareness and that leads to action of legislators and regulators and adjudicators next door in the Supreme Court. So all of you, you students and poets, with parents and friends, keep writing that poetry, keep painting those pictures, because that's really what motivates all of us to preserve our beauty. Pamela mentioned that I'm moving to Arizona. Where's Emma Moorhead? Is Emma still here? Emma, I want you to know that when I am sweltering in 115 degrees in Phoenix, I'm going to be thinking of frosted rooftops. The last thing I'll say is moving from here to Arizona and seeing the beauty of Arizona and the water. Sometimes you have to look harder for it, but it's there. It's in those cracks and crevices. It pointed me to one of the poems that's in this year's winning collection, and it's a poem called Rattlesnakes by Cole Morales, age 7, from California. Rattlesnakes are packed with lots of colors, no legs, and bad habits. They have tails to shake at you, so you won't die. So I'm looking at a room filled with rattlesnakes, poets who have beautiful tails shaking them, so we won't die, so that we'll see the beauty and the importance of preserving our environment, connecting ourselves, reconnecting ourselves to our watersheds. So poets, rattlesnakes, keep shaking those tails. We know the worth of water when the well runs dry. That's what Ben Franklin said. And I would add that we know the wealth of watersheds because poets never lie. They just keep shaking their tails. Thank you all, poets and artists.
Thank you, Ben. Let's see. Oh, now we're moving on. And I know, particularly for the kids in the audience, this seems like, oh, thank you, a very long day. And it kind of is, but, but we have a lot of things to share with you, and we don't want anyone to be left out. So we're moving along, but we have some more adults to thank and speak for a minute. And then we're going to move on to the art portion, and we're going to be showing you all of the art winners on slide this year. And I hope you all saw the grand prize winners and the art of the children who were here in the hallway as you came in. River of Words has managed for 14 years to bring this group to Washington every year, which for a small organization like ours is quite a challenge. And we're supported mostly by foundations. We write grants and convince them that our work is worthy of their support, and by individual donations. And in today's economy, and it's always been hard, partly because we combine environmental education with arts education, and you know, the environmental funders are saying, what's all this poetry and art? And the arts funders are saying, what's this about watersheds? And so it's not always easy. And this year, because of the economy, it was really a challenge. And this almost didn't happen, to be candid. And it did happen because of two amazing companies, two airlines, who provided tickets to get our Southwest Airlines provided 20 tickets to get our staff and winners and families here from all over the country. And Emirates Airlines, through the offices of the now former U.S. ambassador to Sri Lanka, Robin Blake, and through actually the Sri Lankan government too, as I understand, approached Emirates Airlines to fly our last year international winner, who we couldn't get here last year, but we brought her this year from Sri Lanka, which is very far away, as you know. So I just wanted to bring them up to thank them publicly and to hand them a book and extend our thanks to them. We're also honored today to have in the audience the Deputy Chief of Mission from the Sri Lankan Embassy, Ambassador Wijayaratne. Would you like to stand up and be... And also with him is the Minister of Economics from the Embassy, Syed Malani, who's been very helpful. So, John, would you like to come up from Southwest and just... Thank you. This is with our thanks very much. Do you want to say a word or two?
I'll just say everyone did a fantastic job on the poetry. There's 33,000 employees at Southwest, and we all love poetry. So it's just an honor to be here, and I thank you.
And from Emirates, we have Mitch Myers. Mitchell, are you still here? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to say a couple
Sure.
words?
On behalf of Emirates, I'd like to congratulate all the winners and finalists in this wonderful program. We're very happy to be able to provide transportation for the family from Sri Lanka. And again, I'd like to say thank you, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you. This is a little bit about what we do. And I don't have my glasses on, so I can't even read it, but you can, hopefully. Thank you. We do a lot of teacher training. This is along the Merced River, a lovely spot. This is a huge sign as we drove into Salmon, Idaho to do a workshop. We didn't realize we'd be greeted with such a wonderful sign. That's a very, very small town on the Salmon River. This is a teacher training in Zimbabwe. And we encourage teachers to get kids outside, whether it be the schoolyard or the local park. A lot of wonderful things happen in these workshops. Because art and science are both based on observation, our curriculum really stresses the power of observation, honing those skills. I'm just going to go through these really quickly. These are some of our kids. We're very big on recognizing kid. As Barbara discussed, success and recognition for achievement, it has a remarkable power to transform kids' lives, and we believe in really recognizing their efforts. We were part of the World Environment Day in San Francisco a few years ago. That's in San Francisco City Hall. Here we are at the Library of Congress with one of our previous winners. This is Caroline Maria Woods Mejia, who's now 14 years old and was reading in San Francisco recently. This was earlier in the program. There's John Cole with Bob and one of our winners, Capital in the background. This is our winner from Afghanistan, who after 3 years we finally got a visa for. He's there with his father. He had a tour of the Capitol. We managed to find a Dari-speaking Capitol policeman who gave them a tour in their own language, which was wonderful. He had a visit with the Afghan embassy. These are kids at our ceremonies, reading our anthologies. These are some of our books published by real publishers. We do the anthologies ourselves every year, but we have a couple of books in full color. And we have a gallery in California devoted to children's art exclusively. We would love it if you're in the area to have you visit. This is some of what it looks like. This is an art making event at River of Words. We do family activities there, classes. here we go. So these are the finalists of this year's River of Words, and these will be online in the next few weeks. You can go look at all of them if you want. This was our first entry ever from Slovenia. Remember Bucky Beaver? We receive more and more photography entries, and in fact, this is the first year we've ever given a grand prize to a photograph. You'll see Scott Steislinger's beautiful photo in a minute. I thought I'd hear about a bunch of awes when that one came out. Patrick couldn't be here today. Sorry. This is one of our entries from Pakistan. This is actually an Afghan boy. We have a long-standing relationship with the Hazara youth who fled the Taliban in Afghanistan. They're from Bamiyan, the place where the giant Buddhas were destroyed. Age 5. This is one of our finalists from California. I love the profile and the front view. This is on the cover of your program. And that's cut paper. The white spot is where she cut it out and folded it back, so there's negative and positive there. Here's a very poignant one from another Afghan youth. Look at the moonlight on that water. Ah, here's one of our Sri Lankan finalists. Is this one of your students? Yes. Our grand prize winner from last year, our international winner's mother, is an art teacher. And when we started getting entries from Sri Lanka, we'd never had elephants before entered into the contest. And the work of your students is just remarkable, just remarkable. This was on the back of a paper bag. Has a kind of forlornness that we liked. From India. Another Sri Lankan one. Another Sri Lankan one. Okay, now we're starting with the kids who are here. This is Morgan Dennis. She's from Atlanta, Georgia. Get it? Get it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, and I'm so sorry. So let's see. Now we start with the grand prize winner. Miranda Gaffney. Miranda, were you able to make it? No. Sure they were going to be able to make it. I know Marquise is here. Oh, where is she? Is Marquise here? Oh, come up. Welcome. Where are you from? Missouri. From Missouri, all the way from Missouri. Here's your... So let's see. Now we start with the grand prize winners. Oh, did Alexandra come back? Yes, come on up. Oh, come on up.
Hi, I'm Alexandra, and I believe in mermaids, and this painting is one of my best because I got teased about it a lot afterwards, and I put a lot of work into that painting, and I think that what went on that paper wasn't just paint, it was also hope and love and believing in myself. And well, that's really all.
That's a lot. It's a very nice painting. Let me, whoops, stick you with this. Let me give you your certificate. Whoop. There you go. Got it. Thanks. Thank you. So now we're going to go on to the grand prize winners. In your program, Sistini is listed. She's also a finalist this year, but she's our international winner from last year, so we'll do her when she comes up for her international prize. Here's a killdeer with 4 eggs by Jake Barrios from Watsonville, California. Jake, do you want to come up? Where are you? Let's move the stool up.
I drew this bird because it's a nice bird.
Anything more? No? Okay. Oh, you already have yours. That's why. He was at our San Francisco ceremony, so that's why when I was desperately looking for his certificate, it wasn't there. Eric Raul Oliva from Chico, California, did an amazing bear. Eric? Would you like to say something? Whoop, careful.
I'm Eric Oliva. I'm from Chico, California. I drew this bear because he was my favorite animal.
There's some more goodies. Thank you. Just careful getting down. Okay. I like bears too, Eric. So next is the first ever photograph chosen as a grand prize winner in the River of Words contest. I can't read it, Night Flower by Scott Steislinger. Look at the original out in the hallway. No slide is ever going to do this justice. You got to look at it in the hallway in the original. Scott, want to come up? Welcome. Would you like to say something?
No, thank you.
No? All right, wait, let me dig out your certificate. There you are. Congratulations.
Alrighty, thank you.
And then our category 4, which is grades 10 through 12, our category 4 winner in art information for our ceremony here today. So please share that on the slide. Want to come up and say a few words? Let me put your.
Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I painted the cracked earth, because the Georgia has no water in there. So when I go any dams or lake, the earth is like this. So I thought that they were the fish over there in here. So I want to the fish come back to there. That's why I drew like this.
Wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations. Here you are. Congratulations.
Thank
Go
you.
check your bag. Unsil's from Korea originally. So thank you so much. And then, let's see. Oh, now we have our 2009 International Prize winner. And there's a kind of inside joke to the fact that Atalanta, she is from Canada with her beautiful swan. In the years that River of Words has had an international prize, which not the full time, maybe 12 years, our winners have always, for some reason, come from places like Shanghai, Bangladesh, Azerbaijan, Afghanistan. And the board is always saying, why don't we ever have any winners from Canada or Mexico? You know, in other words, not so expensive to bring to Washington, D.C. So this year and we don't know these things when we're judging, but when we saw where Atalanta was from, it was like, oh, close by. So we're really honored and delighted, particularly because of her proximity to Washington, D.C., to give Atalanta Shih the International Prize for 2009. Atalanta, do you want to come up and receive your award? Congratulations. Would you like to talk about your painting? Okay.
I just want to thank River of Words for giving me this chance to participate and win this prize.
And now, this is the, I'm sorry. Here, wait, I'll go back for you. Sorry, technology. Sasini Navoda Vikramatunga, did I say it right? I've been practicing. Sasini was our international prize winner last year for this beautiful painting of elephants. And this year, she's a national finalist for this beautiful painting. And Syed, would you come? He's going to come up and do some translating for us because we want to hear the story in her own words, and she doesn't speak much English. So we can have. So why don't you?
I'm from Sri Lanka. I like to draw animals very much.
We didn't even need you. this is your certificate for last year. And then, here, let's get a picture. And then you have your certificate for this year, too. And we have lots of prizes for you. Thank you so much.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.